All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about our assignment and what we're going to be moving towards. Okay, I've already posted on the guidelines. I'm doing this demo sort of for two classes. So, this particular class, we're going to have a focus on our themes are Vikings, Incredible Two Villains, Gypsies, or Aliens. It's completely up to you. I mentioned before in a couple of the classes that if you want to do something realistic that's more of a game type of character, that's fine, but I'm going to hold you to your knowledge of anatomy. Your knowledge has to be prime and spot on. If your knowledge isn't that great, okay, you have the opportunity to do something that's more animation related that could be a little bit more stylized and, a lot of fun. I have seen the game stuff over and over. I like having the opportunity to get to see something a little bit different. I think it's fun. So if you look up the blog, okay, I put up some samples for you already talking about Vikings, and I'm just going to click on these and go across. There's a bunch of variations here. Some of these are from current shows. So this is obviously from How to Train Your Dragon. This is Nico Marley. Okay, he's an amazing artist that works over at DreamWorks. He's been there for a very long time. Some of these images came up very small. This is a really great image, but it's a little low res. It always shows up lower here, but it's a really nice gesture, fun little sketch, and somebody started a block and a character in there. Okay, here's some more from How to Train Your Dragon, just some other variations here. And you notice that keyword I just said, variations. Okay, part of your responsibility when it comes into diving into characters, and I know this isn't a character design class, this is a digital drawing class trying to get your feet wet and used to drawing digitally. So we're going to draw some props, and we're going to draw some characters and try to get you a little bit more experience there and used to working with something that's not just any form of traditional media. Look at the stylistic options that are here, and we look down here. Do you see those silhouettes down there? Now we did silhouette shapes for our vehicles that we did on our first assignment. Here's another great example of when we want to use silhouettes again, okay, when we're doing characters. Now, I want you guys to do silhouettes, but then I also want you to pick a couple of the silhouettes that you might like and then start roughing. Now, some of you don't have the drawing ability yet, where you can just do tons of silhouettes one after another and imagine what's in the middle. That's fine. So if you want to start sketching and thinking about the shape of your character, that's totally fine too. So I'm going to give you sort of both options. I'm going to walk you through when I sketch and draw. I do silhouettes, but first thing I do before I jump into these like big silhouettes down here is I just work with shape and I exaggerate shape, and I'm going to take you through part of that process today and show you how we go from like step A to step B and step C and how we sort of develop a base character. Okay, but look at all this reference that's up here for you. The one thing you're going to notice in every one of these is an instant visual read with the shape. Shape is key. Okay, look at the exterior silhouette. Look at how everything breathes and it reads very nicely on this. That's extremely, extremely important. Even though this guy has a leg that's part wood, look at how his body separates up, and look at how it's almost like he's animating him, but he's not. He's just showing him in these animated moves that are very expressive, and that's why we call these expression sheets, because anytime we could show some form of expression about the character, that's a plus. Okay? I always have students that turn right around and they give me this. Arms together at the side and someone standing at a front view. And why is that boring? Perfect symmetry, exact flip. When there's an exact flip, there's no interest there. So you want to take your character and try to rotate him at a three-dimensional point of view, okay, at a three-quarter view. So he's not so flat. There are times when you can do flat characters where that can work. A lot of designers can, but the problem is you guys are students, and I want to try to get you guys to go out of the majority of drawings you tend to do are going to be flat. Someone like Carter Goodrich or some other really great designers that are out there, they do a lot of stuff that comes at different angles. And what I mean by different angles is they might do flat, they do three-quarter, they do expressive poses, they do a whole array of different things. I want to break you guys out of your habit, which is the easy habit, which is I just want to draw a front view. But your tendency is your front views are going to tend to be like this and be equal down the middle and be completely stiff. Okay? So when you get to that point and then you go, what did Phil say about silhouette? I talked about shifting the weight to one side of the body, having the hands do something, being expressive, pointing, holding something. There's always a prop or something you can put in a hand. It's part of a human gesture. Okay, so when you go through, look at that. I really love this. I don't know whose this was. I just found it on Google. I just love that shape and that like tiny little head and these big arms. It's a really nicely designed element. Came across that one too. Really fun. Look at the size of those arms against those hands. So you'll notice some of the shapes you really start to like have really enhanced silhouettes, and they're also playing with shape. Look at how elegant and sexy she is. Do you see the curves in that body? Okay, and then how she's skinny and sort of dainty. She's like the perfect mix between evil, and then she has a little bit of good in her, right? And we know that from the movie, but we could tell that before even looking at her. She doesn't look completely evil. You know, she looks like she could come back from another side, but then you look at him, and he has no good intentions, okay? Go through this list. Look at the variety of the characters that are there. Underminer, of course, right? Go through all of these. Those are a couple I did. There's a couple others there. Okay, some other sketches. Gypsies. Yep, he was supposed to be a gypsy. Looks a little different there, doesn't it? I think they were like, we need to tone down the gypsy look on him a little bit. Okay. And then another really fun show. If you look around, you can find more of these designs. If you type in, I always say Area 51, but it's not. It's, oh gosh. What was that movie that they did? Planet 51, thank you. And if you look for this, there's actually on characterdesigner.blogspot, there's an interview with the artist that did all the key characters for this movie. I thought the designs were really nicely done, and they were very expressive, and they were a lot of fun, but the movie didn't do too well. I don't think the story was that great. Okay, there's a couple of his designs there. They were a lot of fun, nicely done. I put some others up there. Look at how fun that guy is. Something simple, okay? Not too over complex. Something simple there. I want you to dive into this and have fun. Look at that sheet right there. That's been photoshopped a little bit, comprising all the sketches in there. But point being is that when you look at some of the key decisions and how they came up with the shapes and where they got to where they, you know, the final character, it's there. What's one of the things I tell a lot of my students, you just don't draw one character and you're done. And you're like, oh, I just came up with my solution and I'm finished. No, that's the complete wrong way to work. You push your shapes. You do more and more. If you come up with an idea for a gorilla, that's fine. Okay? Well, going by our theme, I'm just using this as an example because what's here. But then after you create that character, you draw them again and again and again. And then if it starts to get boring, you have to start thinking about how do you push the gesture? How do you push the reactions of the character? How do we keep pushing him along to another level? I might need to change him. I just don't want him like this, straight and silhouetted and in a perfect front view with perfect symmetry down the middle. Look at the gesture that's in this character. Look at this guy here. They're nicely done. They're fun designs. Okay? So the only way to get there is to do lots of drawings and lots of sketches and variations. Okay? I'm going to have homework for you guys that's going to be due next week where I want you to go through, and I'm probably going to have you do about 3 pages of just silhouettes. Of just little silhouettes, little roughs, so you can find out the shapes that you want to use. And that's what I'm going to do right now in the demo here. I'm going to flush out a bunch of shapes and see where I end up and what I end up with. Okay? So give me a second. Let me pause for a minute here. Okay, so as we start jumping into our character designs, just a reminder, okay, we have 3 topics here. Vikings, technically 4. Incredible 2 villains is going to be really hard to do for some of you that are entry level. Gypsies and aliens. I'm going to start with sort of Vikings right now and just maybe some gypsies, okay? And remember, we have, in terms of the characters, there are 3 characters. 1 male, 1 female, 1 child. Okay, so I'll start with the male. Now, what I like to do, it's sort of exploratory. I'm not going to push myself to have every single drawing be the perfect drawing. That's not how it works. How you want to start with this is we just want to dive in here and we just want to start sketching out some shapes. So I like starting with just basic circles. Start with a circle, sketch a circle for the head, and then I might come down here and sketch like a circle for the feet, let's say. That's it. That's sketch number 1. And then I go over and I start doing the same thing, but then I think about how I can have some variations in the circles. Okay, so as I move over here, I might think about squashing a circle like this, maybe stretching it out a little bit more. Okay, and then maybe I have the head sort of in here, and maybe I have little, like smaller little legs, and maybe I have the feet sort of in here like this. Okay, that's number 2. And again, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to stop talking for a minute. I'm just going to draw. because I like to just focus on just doing these shapes and seeing where it takes me. Then I'm going to come back and pick a couple of the shapes that I like. So I'm thinking of men shape. I'm thinking of, right now I'm working like big brawly guys, right? So I can also switch that up and start thinking about somebody who's maybe tall, okay? And then I might even have somebody like this. What happens if I even step this up a little bit further? What if I get somebody who's really skinny like this, with sort of long, skinny legs, and then he's got sort of a big head in here, okay? And then what if I do somebody who's sort of in the middle? Not to sound like a crazy person, but I do like to talk to myself because I like to figure out what are the shapes that I'm going for and what's going to be more attractive. I can't just automatically think of every best solution, but what I can do is just start to figure out, well, that one's a little bit like this one, but, you know, some differences there. What if I just have literally this huge body shape and the head is like sunken in like that, right? So there's almost no neck. Might have just a giant sort of head in here. So I'm still dealing with these sort of offset elliptical shapes, you know. And again, it's just all about shape right now. I'm just sketching, having fun. I'm going to fill up one page here and then go from there, okay? When I do this, sometimes I'll just get the feeling for a shape. Like I just had this idea of a guy standing here. Maybe he's just got like a straight back, but he's just got this huge belly that protrudes down, and then he's got short little legs in here. Okay? And then I just try to, you know, if you have a problem of like, oh, I don't know what shape to put, I don't know what to do, then just start like this. And just start putting different shapes in together, then come back in and start working on top of them. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That can be a little bit more exploratory, and sometimes you come up with something that you never thought you would think of. Because you're being a little bit rougher. And I have this distinct sort of theory that when you tend to be a little bit rougher, you stop caring about the drawing, and you just let whatever reference you've had go through your mind just sort of starts coming out, and you start piecing your shapes together. And that's key, though. Something that I mentioned, up here when we look over at our reference, right? You guys need to be looking at all this different reference. I usually print this out on little sheets, and I flip through my sheets, and I look at them for a couple hours, and then I flip my sheets over, and I don't look at them anymore, and I just sit, and I just think about sketching. And I just think about different body shapes that I might have. I already like that guy right there immediately. I like that long chin idea and that sort of structure. Give me a second here. I accidentally hit my mouse a minute ago. Let me move this back over here. Get it in the middle. Okay. And there we go. Let me just bring my layers down here a little bit, and I'll just keep sketching. Now, if you find yourself getting bored doing the same shapes, and you feel like you're doing them over and over, then change it up a notch. Right now I've been doing this. I've been doing a lot of vertical lines, right? So I'm going to come over here, and now as I start to rough in a shape, I'm going to start putting curves in there. I'm going to see where that takes me. Okay? I'm going to do my next row right here. So now I'm trying to break the vertical stacking. See, up here I had lots of verticals in here, all side by side, and I'm going to see if I can't get some more. Now, Steven Silver, who's a really nice guy, he's a friend of mine I've known for many years, he talks about, he does what he calls a figure eight right in here. Okay, he starts with a head ball, and then he goes to a figure eight, and his goal is to always have some type of variation in that figure eight shape that's right in there. And sometimes this figure eight might even be like this, where he's combining two other shapes, but it's still like a figure eight. Does that make sense? And he just comes in there and he keeps manipulating them, and he starts to feel what might look like a good pose, so on. Okay? There are no bad drawings, guys. You have to get used to that. I have bad drawings all the time that come out because I know a little bit later on I'm going to have better drawings. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes as part of the drawing process, and it's just working from one step to another. Drawing is a procedural process, and so is designing. It's probably one of the most important things. I wish someone told me that. When I went to school, we just focused on drawing. We didn't really talk too much about designing. But as your instructor, I'm really big about that, and that's something I learned in the industry. That's why I got to start making my little plaques to put around the classroom, right? You never come up with a solution on your first design. It never works that way, okay? So now I'm going to start I was working on, the shape thing here, and I was trying to rotate them off, balance them a little bit. And now I can start putting what I call offsetted angles in there. So if I put an angle like that, what happens if I come in here and I offset that like that? See that? And then I have that, and then, so maybe he's just sort of walks with this weird, when you look at people, when you look at young people, old people, skinny people, people have weird behaviors. They walk different. Some people tilt to one side. Some people do this. I have a spring in my step. When I was a little kid, all my buddies would make fun of me because I'd always do this like spring thing. Even the track coach came up to me one day and said, "Would you like to run and do track? You have a spring in your step, and that would be really great." So I come down here, counter angle. So if I do something like that, then I might come in here and throw something this way, and then I might come in and try to throw that at sort of a different angle. Okay. And then if I get locked, I have a couple rules I limit myself to. Sometimes I'll say 3 circles. Draw a whole bunch of characters with 3 circles. And then if I feel like I'm getting locked into something, then I'll come back and say, okay, now 2 triangles in a circle. Okay, I'm going to minimize these just a little bit because I start to, out of habit, I want to draw a little bit larger, but I want to show you that if I can fill up a page in a couple minutes, you can too. Okay. Hold on, let's go back here, touch, there we go. I just was thinking to myself, thinking all legs, and then belly, and then head. If you hit to a point where you're starting to like your design, throw some arms in there. Start adding on to the body. Right now I'm just dealing with basics. I haven't put any arms on here. Once I come in here and I start thinking about, hey, I might have a little arm with a hand here. You might have a little arm there with a little hand, so on. And you just, again, keep adding on to that. What I'm going to do, once I finish this, I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to pick the ones that I like, put them on a separate page. I'm going to pick like 4. And then I'm going to take those 4 and I'm going to start to develop those. Okay, so at a minimum, I want you to do 3 pages. That's a page per each character. I'm being very nice. That's really easy to do. If I had my way, and this was more of an intermediate class, I would say 3 pages per character, which means you would owe me 9 pages by Tuesday. But some of you don't have access to the lab or the software. That's okay. And if you're one of these students that's going to come up and go, here, look at what I did, and it's a finished character all rendered, I'm going to yell at you. I'm not going to yell at you like with madness, but I'm going to yell at you with hidden sadness. I just sort of made that up. Why? Because I want you to expand. You can't, again, there's no solutions ever in just one drawing. That's something that like you learned as a kid to copy. That's something you might learn in a crappy basic drawing class somewhere at some other school. Right? Not here, of course. In what you might learn is, hey, we copied, hey, there's my solution, I'm done. No, there's never, it doesn't work like that. You have to just keep working and working and see what comes out and what you end up with, you know. So now I'm starting to get stuck in like the same shape. So whenever this happens, this is when I start just working fast. So remember I was talking about triangles. I'll do some triangles real quick in here. and then see if I can add to them. And then I go to another thing I like to do are half circles. So I take part of a circle and cut it off. I have a half circle, and then come in and throw another half circle in there, and throw another half, and figure out if that's working or not. I might throw another triangle edge on there. And sometimes I start to like see or imagine something, and then I just come back and I'm like, whoa, maybe I just need to change it. I don't know why I've been hooked lately with characters with short legs for some reason. There's something stylistically fun about it, or that's a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to just shrink some of these down really quickly. Take him, let me scale him down a little bit. I like that guy actually right there. I'm going to go back into him later. Okay. All right. Had a couple of students before that can get very negative on themselves, and they come back and they're like, everything I do sucks. My page never looks right. And whenever that happens, I tend to notice those students tend to be students that are very frustrated with part of that design process, and they don't think about it in a positive nature. You have to think about it like I'm doing steps. And if I could come out with just 3 little studies here that look right and feel cool, that's a positive. That's a benefit, right? We're always going to fail a little bit when we're drawing. Not everything's always going to be like totally perfect. Part of my goal now is just to figure out what shapes I could come up with that start to look very interesting and appealing to a viewer. I don't even know where the hell I'm going with that one, but that's okay, because I've done this before, and then I take part of that I liked and I can change it, and then it turns into something else that works, and then I realize like, oh, that's just refined it, and now I have something that's really cool that was different than what I was ever thinking about. And yes, you can do these in your sketchbook. It counts. I fill my sketchbook. Hold on. Let me pause it and I'll grab it. Let me hit record again. Okay, so right now, there it is. I finished. That's sort of my first page, right? So what I want to do right now is I want to be able to come back in here. And let me pick the ones that I like and see any ones that I have particular interest to. You know what? Part of me right now is like, you know what? There's a couple in here I just still don't like. There's only 1 or 2 or 3 I would maybe pick. But I'll pick those. But I still want to keep pushing. I'm still looking at my work. I'm noticing I had a lot of straight angles. And sometimes I might even come in and just lightly erase some parts of them. You know, like this guy. He didn't turn out successful at all. I need to, I was going to say sucky. I want to come into this guy now and sort of modify his shape and figure out what maybe he's just this big round weeble wobble. Tilting to one side like that with the large, actually that's sort of cool, large face. Aha, one bad one that turned into a good one, right? Okay, so this is what we do next. This is what you guys are going to do. We're going to add another layer here. All right, I'm going to come over here. Let's take my lasso. I'm going to grab a couple. I'm going to grab him. So again, Control-C, copy. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. That's why. Control-C, copy. Come up here to the layer above. I'm going to turn this layer down. Come up here. I'm going to hit paste. I'm going to take him and I'm just going to move him up over right here. Okay, hit deselect. I'm going to do the same thing again. It's sort of a pain in the sketchbook, but I'm going to come over here. Let's find another shape or two I liked. I like this guy right here that I sketched. I like him. Okay, I'm going to copy him. And I'm going to come back over here. Let's go up to the other layer up above. I'm going to paste. And let's try it again. Oh, there it goes. It just took a minute to paste him in. And I got two of them now. And I'm going to leave him about the same size. Hold on a minute. Delete that guy. And let me scale this guy down a little bit more here. Okay. There's the top of the page. No wonder why it didn't feel right. Let me move him up to about there. Okay. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to move him up. Aha. Hold on. I know I'm being really anal right now. It's okay. Alright, and let's minimize that. Let's come back over here. What else can I develop? It's sort of like this guy too. Here, and I like this guy right here. I like that guy, tall and skinny guy. Tall, skinny, maybe dorky dad or something, right? So I'm going to copy him. Let's come back here. Minimize that. Go back. Paste. Uh-oh. Hey, wait a minute. What happened? Hold on. I lost my other layer. There it is. I don't know what happened, but something happened. Okay, take him, scale him up a little bit. Get him about right here. Okay. I'm going to make room for one more. Okay. Deselect. And then, what was the last one? I sort of like this guy right here. That guy's fun too, but let's just start with this guy. Try that again. Oh, come on. Okay, so there. Now I have my core shapes. Excuse me. I did that thing again where, there it is, paste. Alright. Move them, put them right down here. Let me scale out and see the whole size of the page. I want them to fit. I've been working in Photoshop this past week, and I keep hitting Control minus out of habit there, and I'm going to scale them up a little bit more. Okay, so there. Now I have four shapes that I like, right? They're all sort of different, aren't they? One's a little top heavy, one's got a pointy head, one's tall and skinny, one's really round and blunt. Now I'm going to do variations of those. And I'm going to take those and keep drawing those across and see what else I come up with and see where I land. So let me pause the demo here for a minute, and that way I don't eat up too much time, and then I'll show you the page that I have from there. And then I'll take a couple of those guys, and then I'll start to define them a little bit. And what's cool about defining off of those is every time I define off of one core shape, I can have a totally different character every time. Okay? Alright, so now I'm going to continue with this. Now I have my four shapes that I like. So what am I going to be doing now? What's the difference? Before I was just doing some basic shapes. Now I'm going to start getting some interior lines in there, and I'm going to start angling things and pushing and see what happens. Okay? So look at this guy. This guy right now, he's somewhat top heavy, right? So I'm wondering, what if I lean him more to one side a little bit like this? Make him look like he's about to tip over. And look at where his legs were. They're about there. So what if I come up here and then I round him a little bit and I'll make his legs a little taller? Like this. Okay? And then his head's in there. And then I'm going to go do another one. And I'm just going to keep doing these and figure out where I land. Okay, and by the way, notice what am I using? I'm using the pencil tool. Again, look at how soft I can draw with it, and then look at how hard I can draw with it. It's really fantastic. It almost mimics a natural color erase blue pencil. Some of you that are drawing with a pen, bad choice. It's not going to work. You're creating a nightmare. So I'm just going to keep going through these shapes. Now, like I'm looking at this guy right now. I tend to just work on one, but I sort of wanted to get in here, see if I can put him in the middle like this and stretch him, make him a little bit wider. I'm sort of sketching these arms that he might have. Okay. If I curve part of his belly a little bit more. I don't know why I'm struggling with this top guy quite a bit for some reason. I haven't figured out why yet. I can't seem to find a shape I really like. That's cool, it's a little different. Maybe his butt rises and then his feet sort of come down or something. Actually, that's different. I like this one I just did too. I am rusty. I know when I'm rusty because I don't come to the same conclusions that I can once I've been drawing something for a while. I can finish up an idea quicker. That's just a practice thing. Between creating new classes, running the program, teaching, going to grad school, freelance, there's not much time. Yeah, usually freelance. Just do small jobs, and also I also consider if I do the side thing for CGMA, that's sort of like freelancing too because it's the same type of pay in essence. But yeah, I mean, if I have nothing for a weekend and someone calls up, they're like, "Hey, we do 3 drawings for us. We'll pay you $750." You know, you're like, "Okay, sure." And then they're like, "It has to be of like the Golden Gate Bridge," and then you're like, "Okay, no, maybe not." And it's something like super complicated. in the middle of a lecture, right? If there's something you have to do, go do it. You don't have to ask. I tell you that like a bunch of times. Let me just draw for a little bit so we can keep this going, all right? Alright, I'm just trying to push some of the shapes and see what I might come up with and where I might land. A couple of them are repeating each other and they're just sort of swaying or bending, but that's okay. You know, this is just, there's nothing wrong with doing that and figuring out. Alright, and then let me move down here. Let's jump over here and do the same thing. I started off with this sort of wedge shape, right? I want to keep that wedge shape going, but now let me just try to angle them up a little bit. What if I have them sort of like that? What if I have them like a round wedge like this? Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I do this little center line thing, and we'll get to that in a minute when I start talking about faces and heads. Center lines are extremely important, just like on your ships, just like on any other prop. If I come over here and I start sketching, maybe this guy has like this really low head that's built in here. I put a little center line down the middle, then I sort of strum that center line over like that. So it gives me an idea of where the middle of the character is. That way, if I decide to throw arms on him like this, I know that the reverse side right here would be that opposite arm, and I can sort of sketch in what I might see on that reverse side. Okay, and I was thinking, what if this guy's just sort of rounds up right here and he just has like little teeny feet, just maybe like that. It's really small, right? Exaggeration of shape, push the shapes, keep going, you know. What if this guy's like an ex-Marine and he's got this big wedge head, he's got this huge upper chest, then it sort of comes down, and then maybe he's rounded too on the bottom. I bet then he rounds and he's got like big old legs or something, I don't know. Just another wedge. See that? Wedge shape, wedge shape. See where it goes. Can't hurt you. Actually, now so far I'm looking at some of the ones that I've done that have, like, I sort of like this guy right up here. I like this guy a lot right here where he just literally looks like he's hovering over the ground with this really long face. I like this guy I just did right in there. There's a lot of sort of natural character to him. And then on the swaying guy, I really like this. I don't know if you can see yet, but I sort of felt this connection to this one right here, where literally his upper torso and his chest come down, and he doesn't look like he even has any feet. Looks like he's wearing like a pillowcase for a body. That's his type of body. He could be a lot of fun. What other ones? This one had a sway. That's the same. I still like that guy right there too, up in the front. So I like him. And let's do a couple more, and then we'll wrap this page up, and then I'll pause it, and then we'll do a couple, we'll define the characters a little bit more. So what if he has, have you ever seen old people? I've been hanging around a lot of old people lately. They always wear their pants up super high, right? So maybe he's got his pants up like this, and then he's like that. Yeah. I can't wait to get old. this time I thought look at that. I thought I'd take that, that feel the seventh vertical vertebrae there where someone's like hunched over. What if I just make that go straight and then he drops back? And what if he has just a curve in him? That sort of kills part of the blocky shape, but let me fix that part. Let me take that off. So maybe he has that curve that drops back, and then he's just boom. He's just solid. In fact, you know what? What if his belly comes down and like hits the ground, and then his foot's on the side, and then his foot's like there. Right? He's just heavy. Boom. We could barely see a little bit of his foot on the other side. See, that's fun. See, I had him a little bit mistake, and then I thought, you know what? That could be really, really cool. That could be something. Then I still like this guy too, but I want to exaggerate him a little bit more. I want his pants even higher. I know, that looks maybe ridiculously high with like suspenders on it or something, but it'd be really funny. If you keep doing this, you're going to start to loosen up. The key is to draw so much where you just feel loose, you feel confident, and you don't feel bothered by anything. You're not afraid if you have something that doesn't succeed. Just have fun. Okay. All right. So from here, I'll pick a couple that I like. I'm going to pause the recorder and then I'll draw over. So I'm going to create another layer right after this. So I took the 4 shapes I had. I try to push those, exaggerate those, and see where I might end up with, right? So I have a couple I like, so I'm going to do that same thing. Let me go grab those right now. So I'm going to take where's my lasso up here? I like that guy, but I've done that guy before. I like this guy right here. He's new. That's different, right? So I'm going to copy him. Put another layer up above real quick. Paste him in. I'm going to come over, move him up. Oh, come on, slow down there, Windows. Hold on, I'm not even touching the screen. It's still going. Will it stop? Will it ever stop? We don't know because Windows is lagging. And now hold on, now it's not giving me my, there it is. Okay. Okay, there it goes. All right, so there's one. And see, it's real rough right now. That's fine. That's what I want. I love that. I want it rough. Uh-oh. Gosh darn it. I got to Command Z. Sketchbook Pro, if you hit 1 or 2 buttons the wrong way, it deleted my layer that was there. I had 2 layers. There, see it? It just came back. It's so annoying. I have no idea why it does that. I just went to copy C and then paste and then just deleted the layer for some reason. I have no idea. So let me start that over. It should still have the memory, paste memory. There it is. It is freaky. I've had that happen to me numerous times. It might be my computer or something. Maybe it's because I'm recording and it's just eating up all the RAM. I don't know what it is. See, it's still enlarging. I'm not even touching the screen. There it goes. And to move it, not scale it down. Come back. There it goes. Move. This isn't fun either. So watch, stop. It just keeps going. There's 16 gigs in here. It's just the video. It's when it's recording like this. It's got 20 minutes of video now.
Do you have a mouse attached to the machine?
Yes.
Try using the mouse to scale it.
It might be easier, huh? Because it's not using as much. Okay, so there. That's number 1, right? Let's come back here. Let's grab another shape. So I said I like that guy. I just got him. Let's see, what else did I like out of these guys? I think I just still like this guy right here. See, it's really lagging right now. I can feel it. Copy. Turn this layer back on. Paste. Okay. Move them about there. Alright. Move them both over just a little bit. Hold on. Just about there. Let me see if I can get a third one in there real quick. Alright, bear with me, guys. And where's another one? I like that tall, skinny guy right there, just like he is. And I like this guy. I like that guy too. Oh, I'm going to do a second page. Okay. Copy him. And add another page up here. Paste. Yeah, that guy needs a second page anyway. He's too big. I just want to say his voice. My name's Geoff. Alright, and I had this skinny guy. We'll put him on the other page right here. Okay. Copy. There you go. Move him over just a little bit, so there we go. There, so I got one page to sketch off the shape right now, for right there. And then let me go back here. I want to grab one or two more. I like this guy here. And I still like that guy right there. I can mess with him. I'm going to take both of those guys. So let me take him real quick here, make sure I'm on the right. There we go. Copy. And then drop that down. Let's go up to this upper layer up here. Alright, and I'm going to hit paste. Scale them up. There we go. So that's enough right now. I got some fun to work with there. Okay, so let me pause the recorder real quick. And we'll come back and we'll start drawing over these guys. Okay, we're back now. Now, everything that I did right here, sometimes I do this with faces. All the time. I just sit and I carve out shapes and I come up with faces. A lot of times, though, I like to draw the bodies because the body have a certain attachment and feel to the direction of what the face is going to do, and they interact with each other, right? So a certain style face or emotion on the face is key to the character, and the body should sort of, you know, be in relationship to that. But there's nothing wrong if you're new and you're trying to figure this stuff out, you want to start with faces, okay? So now that I have 3 rough shapes of the ones that I like, I've sort of narrowed it down. And what I can do, since this is on a different layer, see, I can drop my layer down like it's a rough drawing, right? And hold on, I have this other layer up here. I'm going to move this underneath, okay? And now I'm going to add another layer up above this, okay? So just real quick in terms of progression, let's just take a look at where we are, right? I did one page right here. Boom, I had some simple shapes. I came over here, I did another page of simple shapes. I picked the ones that I liked, and I have roughly about 5. There are 2 right there, and then here are the 3 I'm going to start to sketch over. Okay. All right, sorry, I had to pause there for a second. So now that I have this sort of doled down, what I do is I like to come back and I draw on top of these. And every time I draw on these, I always get a different character. And that's what I love about this sort of method that I'm showing you, is that I have an outline of foundation. Now, really quick, just to explain something, remember I talked about my center lines, having a good understanding of what is where, and just to lightly trace, right? There's my center line that comes down the center of that character, right? This is his face, that's this huge neck sort of shrunk into him. There's his belly right there. Then we go down, he has a really small sort of waist area, then it sort of curves down to his legs. Here'd be the middle point. There's one leg, and there's like one leg in there. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's really helpful. I always see it in my characters. So that way, what's important about that is if I come in here, and if I start drawing an eye, I have an understanding of where that other eye is going to fit because I can put a T going across. And it's the same thing with right here. I know that if I have that, I don't want to have a line like that. That's totally off, right? I want to stay perpendicular, and I want to have some structure there. So if I come over and cross, now your decision is going to be, do I want that eyes to be there, or what happens if I put his eyes down here? There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to play around in this area, and this program makes it really friendly because you can easily adjust and have different changes every time. So coming in here and throwing down a center line on top of your rough sketch, there's nothing wrong with that. This is part of animation. In fact, if you think that you are so skilled, you don't need to do the head ball. Even animators still do the head ball to this day. It's one of the core primary things that artists and designers have been taught. You always have form and structure, and you can't really sense or feel that structure until you get in there and you sketch it with your pen. Okay, it's rule number one. It's extremely, extremely important. So in that book I was telling you guys about, the Preston Blair book, one of the things artists do is they just create a bunch of circles. First thing you do is they put that plus sign right on it. And like I said, it's your decision. If I want to come over here right now and I decide that this guy has a huge brow, okay, so I'm talking about the upper brow, and then I decide to come in here and put eyes on him, that's going to totally change the look of part of my character right now, right? Because look at how low his eyes are. And then from there, it's just everything else you know. What do we know that I always have students offset everything? Our eyes, there's certain golden rules we have. Our eyes are usually 5 eyes apart, total. So that means the space from here to here is one eye in the middle, and the space from the ends of our eyes to the ends right here is another set of eyes. So altogether, it's 5 eyes across. Okay? Yes, that's going to change on a character when I'm warping or bending his face, but there's some key rules that still apply. I can put the eyes real close, and if I do that, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody like that. The eyes get really close. And this is the weird stuff. If you have a good anatomy class and you talk about facial structure, okay, there's certain rules. Like, for example, the eyes going across, right? Here's another rule. The top of the eye, the bottom of the nose is where the ear is. So if you go from the bottom of your ear and you bring a line all the way across, it hits the bottom of your nose, okay? And if you come from the top of your ear and you come across your eye, it's going to hit the top. Those are proportions you want to keep. Artists already know that stuff. We learned that a long time ago. You need to keep that in the back of your mind. I love it when I see an old guy. You ever seen an old guy with like super long ears? And I'm like, and the guy's got a huge schnoz. It matches perfectly. He's got this long ears in the ear, and you follow it, and like just the angle of his face, he's got a really big nose. There's nothing wrong with that. And then if you look at some other people, especially people in Asian culture, they have like little cute noses. They have small little ears. It always connects, okay? So when I'm drawing, I'm always thinking that. I'm imagining if I were to wrap a line from here and go around, if I were going to draw this character's ears right now, I want them to be in proportion to his nose. Yes, you can stretch it. Yes, you can distort it. But it's a general sort of rule of thumb to think about that if I come in here and if I indicate that this guy has a nose that's sort of like this, right in here, then if I come over here and I start to sketch the top of his ear, I might have the bottom come down about right there, like so. And that sort of makes sense to me. And the proportions are still there. Okay, and then the rest of it, some of it's just the practice of you figuring out, well, how do I do a happy face? Well, we should know what a happy face is. How do I do a frowning face? How do I make him look frustrated? Part of the eyes are going to tie into that. I have his eyes sort of pitching together right now. That's going to change the look of him versus if I come over here. So let me just do one version, right? Let's say if I have him like this, sort of, right? That might be pass number one, okay? So if I bring my layers back, and if I take that away, and if I go back over that with another layer, I could totally change the look and the feel of that character by altering any of those variations that I was doing. This time I might decide to come up here. I might decide to make his eyes up on the top. There, and I gave him sort of a rounder nose. Also, something that happens when you smile off the corner between your nose, okay, and the end of your cheek, that's those little curves, those little curves that come down that show your cheek right there. that go on the top of the front bridge, the upper bridge right here of your teeth. Your sort of lip sits there, and then we have these little muscles that curve around, right? So if I come down there, I know that curves off in one area. So now if I decide to make this guy happy, and carve into him, I've totally changed the face. Look, I have two different faces now. I have someone who's down low that's looking, and I have somebody that's up high. Totally changes every time. So that's one of the great things I love about this is I can go over this key shape 5 times till Sunday, and every time I do, I get a totally different looking character. Okay, and then if there's something that you don't like, you'd be amazed what you can do just by changing the eyes. If you come in here and you can fill an eye like that, and you can leave a little white area, and then you could put a little circle around it to indicate there's like an iris there. I mean, the white of the eye, excuse me, and you might have that. Okay, some artists come in and they put a little indication to make the eyes pop up. They might do a little line thing like that. There's always a nostril on the side there, so even if I have part of a nose that's in there, okay, and I just keep blocking out the face. There you go. So now I have a different face that was in there before, right? And then I just keep going with it. I haven't done anything with the arms yet. So when I go to do arms, I think of what this shape is right here. I'm imagining I ripped his arms off, okay? And I'm going to stick him back in like it's a Barbie. So I can come over here, and if I see that on there, and if I draw through him, I know on the other side, right over here, I'm going to have that same shape right there. Do you see that? So now if I come in, and let's say I decide to give him some like thin arms. They come down to here, and then maybe he has a little bit of a forearm, and then he has his hand right in here. Okay, I know you're like, well, how do I draw hands? Well, it's up to you. Hands are all different shapes and sizes. Okay, there's tons of different ways to draw hands to simplify hands. Okay, same thing with arms. If you're getting really stuck, go back to basics. What do I know about arms? What shape are arms? They're cylinders. So if I come in here and if I draw a cylinder, that's a cylinder. We use round spheres that are going to be for the bendable elbows, okay? And then I could come over here and I could draw another cylinder right in here. See that? And I have an arm. And then for hands, I have this whole thing I like to do with hands. I love mannequin hands. Mannequin meaning the wooden mannequin. The wooden mannequin has hands like this. I learned this back in the day, and it's always stuck in my mind. Okay, that's the mannequin hand. It has a flat surface and a curve, and I really like that because then I had a teacher that told me all you got to do is put the thumb on it. And then they're right there, and if you put that thumb on, that's the rest of the hand, and then it's just separating it into fingers. Does that make sense? And then the rest of it's just knowing that, hey, I have a bend here and I have a bend here. So now if I know where to bend my fingers, I can easily come in and start to indicate what a hand might be like. See? Okay, another approach to hands is what I call, a lot of artists have done this, something I saw back in the days, like the Mitten Approach, where you sort of come over like this and you pretend that the hand just has like a mitten on it. Okay? See that? It's like one big mitten over the hand, and it bends. And so if the hand's out and open, the hand might be like this, and then it might come in like this. I did a demo for my friend. It's on YouTube. Talking about mittens and drawing hands. And I just talked about drawing these mittens from multiple angles and shapes, no matter how you're looking on it at the hand. There's a curved part, a part that bends. You have a thumb that comes up, and that's it. And mittens, okay? And once you get used to sketching those out of your head, and it takes some time, but that's how you sort of address the hands. So if you get stuck on the hands, what do you need to do? Go back to shape. Think about what the shape is of your character. And then you go in and you start adding that in, okay? I don't really think about shape anymore. Well, I do, but it's already ingrained in me. So when I'm doing this, I'm thinking of where the center line is. If I'm thinking I really want to push something, if I want to come in here and have his arm be really huge here, and then maybe after his elbow, it comes down and he's just got these tiny little forearms. Then he's got these sort of big hands. Then I could sketch the fingers in there like that. That's it. That's how I tend to sketch it. I just map it out as a shape and I piece it together. Okay, so all the other information from here is going to be the detail information. So if this is a Viking, what's some of the detail stuff that I might have on my guy right now, right? Well, you might have a beard that comes in here. You might have... Now, just doing that, that's going to change my character totally. Don't you see it? So you might have that braided. So then I might come up and be like, okay, maybe he has, maybe sort of an older Viking and he's balding up here. He has a couple loose hairs, but then the side of him comes together and that's braided. Okay, so there, now I have hair on both sides, right? Maybe he has a patch in the middle here and he has a little braid that comes off of here. And that might not have been the best design choice because there might be an empty spot there. But if it's not, that's fine. Go back, take it off. And there. That's what I like about Sketchbook Pro. It's fun. It's forgiving. And I put that hair on the other side right here. Okay. Now this is my first pass at this character. He's just newly discovered, right? I haven't figured out much about him. I don't know if he's going to have little freckles on his head. I don't know much about him. I don't know if he's going to have like a real rough beard going down here. All that's, I could keep going over this and keep bringing him alive, right? This is just my first pass. So what do Vikings also have that I know? They have vests. So I'm going to sketch like a little vest that comes in here. Put a button on that vest. Sort of bring that around to that side. Bring this around here. But it's funny because you know what Vikings can look a lot like? They look like Harley Davidson bikers. Because they have the vest and they have the same beards and stuff. If you think about it, there's almost a jump between Vikings and, you know, guys that are bikers. You know, so some other factors I haven't put in here, like, you know, what is this vest going to be made out of? It's going to be some type of thick fur. How would I get that in? Again, I put some great samples from Nico Marley. I haven't done anything with the arms yet, so let's just say I came in here and I have this. What if he has an arm that comes up here? He's got a big forearm that sort of drives up in there. And what if he's got his hand around he's got a big sword that sort of comes out like right in here, right? That's fine. I could identify the rest of that later, and I could just keep coming in here and keep pushing them. Again, the key is that, look, that's just a rough over shape. See that? And if I minimize the shape, see the characters start to come out a little bit, putting the details. That's what's really important to me to teach you guys, is that there's a foundation of shape that's underneath all those drawings, and he has to work and come together. Okay? Your first one's never going to be that successful. So you just have to keep sketching, and you keep having fun, and you keep developing them, and you just go from there. Okay, that's my first pass. And trust me, it's a lot harder to draw when you're talking, especially for me, because I'm not focusing on what I'm doing. And if I'm at home, it's a whole lot easier just to sort of just listen to some cigaros or some good music, and then just sit and, you know, whatever the music might be, and just sketch and see what I come up with. Okay, and where it takes me. So look at that center line. I sketched that in talking to you guys about it, but it's so like huge. It like just goes down this guy's head. Uh-oh. Lost my eraser. And it went small, and that's the downside of recording and doing this at the same time. There, now he comes a little bit more. So, you know, how would I go over this again? After I fleshed out his arms and everything, right? And I'm going to stop the recorder here because we're already over an hour or something. I'll flush this guy out at the next class, because what I would do is I would thin this guy out, and then I would come up here with another layer on the top. Not that face, hold on. All right, that's the other face I did. And now I might decide, like, you know, his eyes aren't right, or maybe I need to push out his beard. Maybe his beard needs to come down more like this and come in, and then And then maybe I want to be able to see his chin. Maybe he's got an old geezer's chin, let's say. And maybe I could see his bottom lip sort of like this. Maybe I made him look a little too younger, and he should look like he has no teeth. And then maybe I had a little space there. Maybe he's got one tooth there. Maybe he's got one tooth sort of popping up like that. And then I'm just going to bring a line straight from here and bring it up. Maybe I realize, no, his nose, same size as his eyes. Maybe I just need to come in here and give him a little button nose. Right? Maybe it just has to be like this. Okay, and then I might decide to say, well, what if I take his eyes then? And what if I give him... different size eye? Push the shapes. Here's the important part. Again, I'm going to... any of you guys that I see something and you show me a design and you're like, I'm done. And I'm going to be like, let me see the other 4 that got you there. Where are they? Look at, this guy's totally starting to change now. Do you see his sensibilities changing and some of the decisions that I've made about addressing his face and pushing some of the shapes? I made his nose different. I brought his upper lip in a little bit more. I want to put that little fulcrum guy right there, inside there, coming down. Maybe he hasn't shaved for a while. Okay. Maybe I decide to, okay, he might have, since he has like a thick beard, what if I really push up his brow? What if his eyebrow is just like this huge? Have you ever seen old people who could like sail to China on their eyebrow? They're like gigantic, right? They're huge. This is how you develop your character, a little bit at a time. And sometimes I don't do this. Sometimes I'm just at home and I start drawing something and it just starts to come out. And it just changes. See that? I automatically just adjusted his ear to fit in his nose just out of habit. I was thinking about maybe taking off his hair. Maybe he just has hair that's coming up. It's not braided or anything. Maybe he's got jewelry and necklaces and stuff. Okay, so, and again, if I minimize what I had underneath, right, look at that. He's totally changing from that, from where he's at now, and where he was before. So if I take that down, look at that face, and then look at what's here. Totally different. This guy has a lot more character coming out of him. And that's just my second quick sketch. I can do another one, and another one. Keep developing until you get what you like. Push those shapes. Don't just be happy with what you have. Look at what you have at one point and say to yourself, I'm going to go to the total opposite direction and see where you end up. Okay? Try that. That'll help you guys out. I'm going to go ahead and end this right now. And that way to see if I can render it. It's going to take a while, but it might be done by tomorrow, and maybe I can hand it out on a Tuesday. All right. Thanks.